Kia ora, good morning, muy buenos días a todos. This is our first panel discussion of Here and Now. Contemporary art spaces are institutions around the globe. Here and Now is an exhibition and mini festival, the result of a series of reflections based on the journeys of 9 female street artists from 5 different countries during the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak. This exhibition, it's a multimedia format platform that where variety and resilience are keywords to understand the content of the show and the synergy of this woman with more than a decade of experience living murals in the streets of Peru, the United States, Colombia, Aotearoa, streets in Europe, and many, many other countries. This project features the work of Dream Girls Collective, conformed on Gina Keel, Zoe Ho, Miriam Grace Smith from Wellington, New Zealand, Fluro from Christchurch, New Zealand, Janine Williams from Auckland, New Zealand, Meki from Peru, Gleo from Colombia, Caratoes from Belgium / Hong Kong, and Paula Ticay from Chile. With these different components, Here and Now aims to create meaningful connections in between key figures in the processes of creating, curating, producing art experiences for the public. For us, that is a really inclusive way of thinking in the arts that bring communities together. My name is Mirella Moschella. I am a street art videographer from Peru and the curator of Here and Now. Welcome to our first panel discussion, Contemporary Art Institutions Around the Globe. Today, I am honored to be sharing this space with 3 important key figures in the contemporary art and street art scene. Today with us, welcome, is Giuliana Vidarte. Giuliana is an important curator and art researcher and historian responsible for a series of projects that recount the stories behind Peruvian art history, focusing on the Amazonian arts. At the moment, she is the chief curator and head collection of the Museum of Contemporary Arts of Lima. Welcome, Giuliana. Qué gusto tenerte aquí.
Hi.
Paora Allen, director of Toi Poneke Gallery, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Paora is an artist, curator, and arts advocate from Wellington. He has managed Toi Poneke Art Centres for the last decade and has worked across museums and art galleries in Aotearoa for the last 30 years. Toi Poneke is an important local government facility for the visual and performance arts here in the capital of New Zealand. Welcome, Paora. David Roos, curator and creative director of the STRAAT Museum. The STRAAT Museum is the acronym for Museum for Graffiti and Street Art in Amsterdam, one of the biggest street art graffiti museums in the world. The collection of STRAAT includes a variety of pieces from local and international artists, all created by David. Welcome, David.
Hi, Miriam.
Hi. During the next 55 minutes, each panelist will share with us more about their careers, their spaces, the spaces they're working, and their relationship with communities and public art. So we are about to start. Thanks everybody for joining us. We are live on Facebook from Toi Poneke Facebook page, and we're also live on Here and Now Instagram. We're going to start with Giuliana this morning. Welcome, Giuliana.
Thank you, Mire. Hello from Lima, Peru. It's 5 p.m. here. Well, I wanted to begin by thanking Mirella for the invitation and celebrating the exhibition's opening. It is always a pleasure to participate in dialogues that seek to establish contact between different contexts and allow us to share the work that we have been developing at MAC Lima. MAC Lima, the Museum of Contemporary Art of Lima, is an institution dedicated to promoting and researching contemporary artistic practices in Peru. In addition, it houses the original collection of the Institute of Contemporary Art, el Instituto de Arte Contemporáneo. Since 2018, the museum has redefined its direction, curatorial program, and institutional identity. Thus, today, I'm in charge of the curatorial profile of the institution, developing and implementing the exhibition and academic programs, and defining the policies of the museum's collection. The program that I have designed has focused on recognizing shared lines of research in various projects of contemporary Peruvian artists, including the reinterpretation of historical archives. Our program aims to understand how Peruvian cultural history and memory is constructed through an archaeological discourse about the pre-Columbian past. We have carried out projects that reflect how relationships are established between contemporary art, science, and technology, calling for an urgent reflection on environmental issues. In doing so, we aim to develop a dialogue with contemporary Latin American artistic practices, promoting research projects that strengthen links with the institutions and creators of Latin America. From Lima, the dialogue we can establish with our community is essential. Still, we also consider the relevance of contributing to creating discourses on art and its history from other realities. When we began to organize the activities of the museum's new program, it was essential to consider the voices of the diverse audiences and community of artists and cultural managers that we were addressing. We thought it was vital to include urban art in our programs. In addition, the architectural characteristic of the museum, you will see it later in the video that we are going to share, right, Mire?
Yes, we are.
Its location, it's okay. Its location next to a public park made it even more evident the relevance of integrating works and creators, developing visual arts in the forms of street art and graffiti. And I will tell you about 3 projects that we carry out between 2019 and 2020 at Lima related to the artistic practices of muralists and other creators and managers linked to street art. These projects were made possible thanks to the work and initiative of Mirella Moschella and many other Peruvian artists, such as Meki, who participate in the Here and Out project also. The first edition of the Encuentro de Arte Urbano Muros Abiertos, or Open Walls, Urban Art Encounter in English, took place in March 2019 and was curated and managed by Mirella Moschella and produced by Ada Quintana. The call was open to Peruvian artists who developed their projects in painting, music, and urban performance to develop artworks on the walls and temporarily occupy the museum's shared spaces. Lucia Cos, Nemo and Meki, Paulo Sierra, Sef, and Somatok were finally selected to use the walls of Lima as their canvases. The selection was made taking into consideration the museum's objectives, such as the promotion of young Peruvian artists, with a coherent portfolio of work and proposal aligned with the contemporary artistic practices, and the recognition of artists who have played a fundamental role in the development of the urban art scene in Peru. The murals created by this group of artists propose different reflections on life in the city of Lima and explorations of each of the participants' own graphics. The urban encounter also included talks, portfolio presentations, and roundtable discussions that allowed the public to get closer to the artists and learn more about urban art made in Peru. Topics of dialogue included self-management proposals, festivals, fairs, and participatory activities that use urban art to recover spaces in the city, as well as the history of graffiti and street art in Lima. In addition, and I think that this was really special, maybe Mire could say also something about this, the public could follow the process of intervention of the MAG walls by the selected artists. The audiences visited the museum to see the creation process of the works. And finally, we held a celebration of the wall painting with live rap and hip hop presentations. After this experience, we came up with the initiative to present a group of Martha Cooper's works at the museum. This was a big challenge for the team promoting the exhibition, which included Mirella, Meki, and Nemo, due to the short time we had to organize the show at the MAC. The exhibition Martha Cooper, Una Historia en Imágenes, or Martha Cooper, A Story in Pictures, was presented in a part of our exhibition room number 3 with a wide selection of photographs. I think, Mire, de repente me puedes corregir, I think it was like 2,000 photographs.
200.
It was like huge.
200
200,
pictures, yeah.
200,000.
Remember, there will be like 20, but then she was like, I'm bringing 200 pictures. And we were like, whoa.
The exhibition brought together a large number of people interested in seeing the works of this fabulous photographer, a key figure in the recording and historization of street art worldwide. The inauguration was a beautiful moment of encounter between Marta and her followers, musicians and performers, who she photographed throughout the evening. We also welcomed the Peruvian premiere of the documentary on the life and work of the photographer, directed by Selina Miles. An exhibition like this one allows an institution like the MAC Lima to contribute to creating and disseminating narratives about contemporary art practices, and it affirms the museum as a space for dialogue and a meeting place that welcomes diverse communities. It was an amazing project. We are very thankful to have the opportunity to, I don't know how to say, acoger, to have this project on the museum, to welcome the project. Finally, I'm going to tell you a little about a possibility that arose after the experience of Muros Abiertos and Una Historia en Imágenes. In 2019, we started the publication of the magazine Cubo Abierto at MAC Lima. This magazine brings together texts by artists, curators, researchers, and professionals working in the field of contemporary visual arts. The texts in the publication are based on the museum's exhibition and activities. Still, they are expanded to cover essential issues to make visible and discussing the current Peruvian art scene. Each case also has a special section devoted to research on pieces from the museum's collection and a guest artist responsible for the cover design, reinterpreting the whole concept of the open cube. The name Cubo Abierto, meaning open cube in English, is from an exhibition held in 1966 by the Chilean artist Roberto Mata at the Institute of Contemporary Art. MAC Lima's predecessor institution, like I mentioned. We understand the open cube as a space that follows us to think and perceive reality in a new way. And furthermore, it functions from the title of the publication as a way of understanding the various spaces or the so-called white cube spaces of our own museum. Our magazine allowed us to develop content in a very accessible and fluid way, and we try to integrate texts that give an account of the interactions we have with artists and managers. In Cubo Abierto #2, we included an interview with Mirella Moschella about the creation of Marta Cooper's exhibition, as well as a portfolio of images by the photographer herself that she captured in Lima, accompanied by a Peruvian urban artist. These pictures documented their visit to an abandoned factory in the district of San Martín de Porres that had been developed by graffiti artists. Mirella told us in the interview that the experience of seeing this space was like being in a museum for Marta. And that's a phrase that really touched us in the museum. The people that we were in the museum, we felt like very compelled by this idea. And that it was the closest thing to a graffiti museum that could exist for Marta. At the museum, we kept thinking a lot about Marta's reflections. We consider it fundamental that MAC Lima and its platforms open up the space for discussions about institutionalism and the creation of discourses about the history of art and contemporary art in Peru and in the world. In 2020, we launched the call for the second edition of Muros Abiertos. The arrival of the pandemic made it impossible for this to take place, and the crisis that the museum subsequently suffered has not yet allowed us to resume this activity. We hope to soon obtain the necessary means to give continuity to this program and open the walls and spaces of the museum to urban art and its creators. Thank you.
Thanks, Giuliana. Yeah, such a good memories watching all the pictures you sent for the presentation and the videos about the project with Marta Cooper. Marta Cooper it's a legend in the street art and graffiti world. She's the co-author of Subway Art, which for many people means the Bible of graffiti. So to having her in Peru, knowing that a lot of people will be interested in listen to her and meet her, was a really beautiful experience. And also it was really nice to know that for her as well was her first museum exhibition. So I think that was a really good experience, and also like for MAC, like for Peru, and yeah, that was really nice.
I think that this has been one of the most beautiful openings that we have here at MAC, because we were feeling that we were like embracing the family of urban art in Peru, because it was like so intimate, and Marta was so close to all the participants in the opening. It was amazing, an amazing experience.
Thank you, Giuliana. Thanks for sharing with us more about MAC Museum in Lima. And today, for those that are joining us, we are at Studio 30 in Toi Poneke Art Centre building, right next to the Here and Out exhibition in Toi Poneke Gallery. This is our first panel discussions, contemporary art institutions around the globe. And now we are here with Paora Allen, which is the director of this facility. Welcome, Paora.
Kia ora koutou, nā mihi nui kia koutou mō tēnei kōrero I te ata nei, kei Aotearoa te whanganui a tara. Kia ora everybody, and greetings to everyone who's tuned in. We're here in Te Whanganui a Tara, one of the fish eyes of Te Ika o Maui, a great fish that was hauled up from the depths of the ocean by an ancestor of ours, Maui, who also slowed down the sun. And we've got different time frames happening around the world. It's about 11-ish in the morning here in Aotearoa, about midnight over where David is, and about 5 o'clock in Lima Friday. So we like to celebrate different time zones, and it's great to all be in the same space. So I think we're just going to kick off with a little fly-through video of Toi Poneke, which gives a small snapshot of the art centre and what goes on, and then we'll come back to me explaining a little bit more about what you see.
Toi Poneke is a meeting ground for artists from different disciplines to grow, develop and practice their work.
It's really nice having the security that's here. The staff provide a really positive, friendly environment.
I like the way that it's open 24 hours and I can come and go any time of the night. Very central, reasonable rent. I feel lucky to be here.
It's my home. I used to call it my second home, but as somebody pointed out, I spend more time at the studio than I do anywhere else.
It's really nice heading to openings and encountering work that you might not otherwise. It's sort of without the effort of having to go to an opening. You've got a social occasion every month and really interesting, innovative work.
I have become more exploratory in my work since being here, just because of the exposure to other people's work, their conversation, how they do things.
There is a lot of interesting, weird stuff going on, like going to a talk about hip-hop culture or dance culture. As a sculptor on paper, that doesn't seem to make sense, but it's interesting and it makes you think outside of your own box.
Having artists in the same building as arts organisations mean that collaborations and partnerships can happen. For the artists, it's getting their name and their profile out there right in front of those arts organisations.
There's people that are actually launching into pretty successful and very high-end careers. Being able to be part of that and really see some quality work up close, meet the artist, it feeds into the sense of this is the real deal.
I was wondering if you can share more with us about your career, your experience in these many years in the arts, in the contemporary arts here in Wellington and in New Zealand in general.
Okay, great. Good question. Sort of stemmed really from coming from a family, a long line of artists and creativity, musicians, weavers, carvers, architects, teachers, born into a sort of world of art, and sort of followed that through going to undergrad, doing fine arts, and then out of fine arts school, started working in galleries and museums, initially as a technician, installing exhibitions, and then designing shows and museums and art galleries, and all the sort of ins and outs of of creating an exhibition really from from woe to go. And essentially what I really enjoyed about that whole exhibition, the whole exhibition process, is supporting the artists to get the most out of their experience. Through working in different museums and galleries and different types of exhibitions, that led me to an opportunity here to help Toi Poneke Art Centre develop into what it is today. So I've been doing work for Wellington City Council. It's Wellington's civic local government entity, who provide a lot of support for artists within the Wellington City and Wellington region through public art projects, funding. We also manage a civic art collection. We've got a team that supports all those different opportunities and services within a great arts team called the Creative Capital team. And so Toi Poneke really sort of is a small strand in that whole network of supporting artists. And Toi Poneke really comes into the picture within a greater beehive of activity within the capital city here, where we focus in on supporting emerging creatives right across the spectrum, from fine arts, music, performing arts, and how we do that is through a program of exhibitions, about 10 to 12 exhibitions a year. And we also have 2 buildings that we house, up to 100 and more residents who work in art studios and offices, and come and go throughout the day and the weeks of the year to use our rooms, like a dance studio, music studios, or even it's just coming in to connect if people are new to the city or new to Wellington and they want to connect with other artists or people who are doing interesting things across the city. So that's Toi Poneke, and that video clip is about 5 years old now. So but it's still quite relevant in terms of getting a view of what type of work goes down in Toi Poneke.
Thank you so much, Paora. Yeah, this building is amazing. I think for me, it's a really good example of a space that embraces creatives and gave them the chance to develop their practices. As Paora mentioned, there are studios, there are like developing rooms for pictures and like dance studios as well. The car park is full of graffiti. They also help us. We made a mural right next door for Here and Now. Miriam Grace Smith and Flora painted a mural right here. So it's a place that really embraces creativity, and I'm really thankful with all the team from Toi Poneke, because they are being really supportive with Here and Out in general. So thank you, Paora. Thank you for that. Now we are here with David as well. David is the creator of STRAAT Museum, a place that I'm really keen to know very soon. I really want to visit that museum. Welcome, David. Welcome. Thank you for being with us at midnight in the Netherlands.
Thank you, Mira. It's an honor to join this discussion with you, together with Giuliana and Paora. And yes, it's true. STRAAT Museum is here in Amsterdam. We've just opened our doors. It's very impressive what Paora and Giuliana already told about their institutions. We're just here and we're just starting, actually. Straat is actually the Dutch word for street. So it's an acronym, but it's also just a simple word of street in Dutch. And we're mainly focused on street art and graffiti for together like the local talents and the big names from nationally and internationally. And it's located in an old warehouse where they used to make ships. And it's a perfect fit actually with the surroundings in the area. I'm not sure if it's possible to show the video. This is STRAAT.
It's rolling.
It's rolling?
It's rolling.
Yeah.
So if you go into the Toi Poneke Facebook page, you will see how the behind the scenes team is like B-rolling a lot of really cool images of your spaces.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So, yeah, we've started this project in 2015, and it just started with the owner of the museum, who's also the owner of the flea market. And he put some artists inside to just decorate the flea market. And that just evolved into this massive museum. It's 8,000 square meters. So it's even not possible to have like a clear imagination of how big that is when you see the pictures. It's huge. We have over 150 artworks of many different sizes. And the special thing about this museum is, of course, street art needs to be in the streets. But here we give the artists a platform, and we give context to what they make in the streets, you know. If you walk around in the streets, you pass by a beautiful work by, for example, Cleo or Caratus, who are also part of the museum, or Entes from Peru.
Yeah,
they're all good friends. And in the streets, you will never know the stories behind these beautiful paintings. And we tell these stories, you know. We tell the history of the complete art form. We tell about Marta Cooper. We show what the diversity is of this beautiful art form that we all cherish together. And it's in a beautiful place together with a lot of artists that are really happy to participate. And the very interesting thing of this museum is, compared to other museums, all the artists came to the museum to paint inside the museum. So there are no paintings there that were painted in studios or printed by a big printer. We have 9 meter by 5 meter canvases that they just paint on site. And that's I think that's also one of the very interesting extras of this museum. You know, you can come and visit the museum, and then suddenly there's like this very cool street artist painting right there live in the museum. And that's what makes STRAAT very special, in my opinion. It's a complete experience. So it's still inside, but we respect street art and graffiti to the fullest in a very old warehouse that's monumental, and just brings the whole art, the street art life experience come to life. So that's basically just in a short message, an introduction STRAAT. Of course, we're not there for so long. We opened in 2020. We had a couple of lockdowns. I'm pretty sure Mide, we're going to talk about it in a bit, about the COVID. So I'm not going to talk about it, but we didn't do so many projects yet. But there's still already a couple of projects that we're proud of sharing. We work together with the Raw Project in Miami. The Raw Project is a party that does a lot of community work. They paint high schools, elementary schools, and we were very proud to participate in one of their projects last December in Miami, together with, for example, Shepherd Ferry. So that was very impressive for us to be part of it and to be out there and like add a little bit of importance to a massive project that they're doing over there. Right now we're doing workshops. Very unfortunately, there is a war going on in Ukraine. Many people are fleeing the country, and we're doing workshops with refugees. Just one of the community projects that we do right now. And we're also very proud, different side, positive side, that we have a gallery. We did a show with Cornbread, the first graffiti writer in the world. So these are already like 3 of the projects we can be really proud of, and that is telling the DNA of the museum. because we're proud of the art form that we have, but we also want to give something back to the community. So yeah, that's just STRAAT in a nutshell. And once again, I'm very proud and honored to be here. And yeah, back to you, Mide.
Thank you so much. We are really proud to have you all with us this morning, and for all that, for all what you just said. It sounds such an amazing project, such an amazing institution. Excuse me, the STRAAT Museum, because yeah, art is constantly moving and reshaping, and it's good to know about spaces that follow those paths, and it seems like STRAAT is one of those. So it's really, and all of the spaces that are, all of the institutions that you represent follow those paths as well. So thank you so much for being with us. For all of those that are joining the Facebook Live in Toi Poneke's Facebook, we are here in our first panel discussion, Contemporary Arts Institutions Around the Globe, with Giuliana, Paora, and David. Well, David or David?
David.
David, I'm sorry. You just mentioned, David, about how did you manage to adapt through difficult times during COVID, and that's my next question for all of you, because yeah, about talking about reshaping and finding new ways of collective thinking and giving a space to art experiences to happen, open to the public. How has been these past 2 years in your countries with COVID? How the spaces you work in reshaped or adapt to those struggling times? And if we can start with Giuliana, can you tell us a little bit more how the MAC has adapted with these COVID times?
Yeah, well, it's been like challenging, difficult times. I think that for all of us, I'm pretty sure of that. I think that we changed the focus, or I don't know, the vision that we used to have before is completely transformed right now. I wanted to tell you about 2 new projects that we developed throughout the pandemic. And also, I wanted to emphasize that I think that throughout the lockdowns that we have, because here in Peru were really long lockdowns, we had the possibility of a very strong, to get to a very good and strong connection with all the team of the museum. And we were apart, but at the same time, I think I'm talking about the educational area of the museum, because I think that now, before the pandemic, this didn't happen, but now each project that we develop here at MAC, it's like a teamwork from the curatorial area, but also the education area. So we emphasize those bonds throughout the pandemic. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about 2 activities that we developed. A month after the quarantine began, we proposed a dynamic exercise aimed at local artists called Conexión Artista, that is like artist connection. We asked them to record a short video with their mobile phones in which they share some ideas about the work of another artist they admire or whose work they consider essential to broadcast. We have now realized that we were inviting them to start a conversation with us. The videos, which the guest artists sent to us, have very diverse formats, explaining the artist's works in great detail. We were very impressed with the effort they put into the video editing, showcasing a creative and experimental take on sound recording also. The videos were a significant boost to the Outreach project. And for that, from that first experience, we thought it would be as essential to continue developing these dialogues. That's how we came up with the idea of working on a series of podcasts, also called Conexión Artista, focused on creating a space for artists to exchange ideas, even if they were physically far away from each other. Many of them didn't know each other, but they always found shared interest throughout the conversations. We talk about motherhood, how difficult life is in Lima, the cultural scenes in other parts of Peru, such as Trujillo, Pucallpa, or Cusco, what it's like to study art, painting, sculpture, and curatorial work, among many other topics. Considering the new challenges faced by teachers and families in the context of virtual education, we created a publication based on the joint work of the areas of educational action and mediation and curatorship and collection of MacLima. And we have this publication now that is called Cuaderno Abierto. I think that it's like open notebook, and it's like a pedagogical material with activities for children and adolescents created by contemporary Peruvian artists. And I think that was one of our first project throughout the pandemic, and it gave us the opportunity to make connections with families, with teachers, with all the diverse audiences that we have here in the museum. And also we were like given the opportunity to the artists to establish those dialogues also. So I was having those ideas. I wanted to share those ideas with you.
Thank you. Sounds like really interesting ways of, yeah, like directing all the energy, like from artists especially that are really sensitive through difficult times, you know, like kind of canalizando all of those ideas and feelings and everything they could have because of these struggling experiences. What about Toi Poneke, Paora? How do you think this, because right now in New Zealand, like at the moment, we're experiencing the biggest COVID outbreak, while in the rest of the world, like in Peru, that happened on 2020, 21. So it's interesting to be here and watch all that the work that you've been doing in South America or in Europe, while here we're experiencing that at the moment. So Paora, how do you think Toi Poneke or other art spaces here in Wellington or even in the whole country are adapting to this situation?
Yeah, look, I can only speak from sort of my own experiences and closer family and the team at Toi Poneke, as well as, you know, what's been happening in Wellington. And as Mirella just said, we're just sort of at the peak or just over the peak of the Omicron virus strain was the most dominant in the last sort of 4 or 5 months. So, you know, lockdowns 2020 and 2021 in Wellington had a massive effect on artists who couldn't prepare themselves to work from home. So yeah, there are some winners and a lot of losers, if we can say it like that. But yeah, I think for those who were prepared to adapt and had technology and tools to work from wherever they were in lockdowns, managed to get through relatively unscathed and produce some interesting work. And if they weren't producing interesting work, you know, the artists who kept busy were developing ideas for a later date. I.e., yeah, the very exhibition that we have on now, Here and Out. You know, our exhibition program, we just in our physical art gallery, we just had to put on hold and move all of our exhibitions into the future. So for the Here and Out project, you know, I think that was a good thing. It gave us more time to collaborate and work through potential ideas and opportunities for the show. And Mirella and her team have done a fantastic job to include adjunct events that have happened alongside their exhibition. Last weekend we had a fantastic opening for their show, both in the gallery itself, and we cleared the car park. We've got a little car park out the back of our buildings, and asked the cars not to come in for the day, and Mirella set up a sound system. We had local DJs and dancers sort of celebrating and more of a sort of street festival type vibe, which coincidentally would have happened on one of our biggest street festivals in New Zealand, which is right outside our front doors, called the Cuba Duba Festival. And that in previous years, that's drawn thousands of people to the front doors of our art centre and down one of our main creative arterial routes, Cuba Street, where there's cafes, galleries, retail shops that pour a lot of creative energy into how they operate. It's very close to the centre of town and close to access to our music schools and art schools, etc. So yeah, the Cuba Duba Festival was unfortunately had to be postponed because we didn't know when would be out of what we've had to impose a traffic light system, which essentially kind of throttles back how many people you can kind of interact with. So yeah, now that we're coming out of that next week, actually, we're coming out of a pretty hardcore mandate where a passport system was implemented to be able to go places. And yeah, once we sort of come out of this mandating situation, then I think spiritually, mentally and physically, creatives will be able to move with a bit more freedom. But yeah, so yeah, it's had a huge impact, and you know, we'll be lying if it didn't. But throughout some of our lockdowns, Toi Poneke managed to run some online activity, and one of the most interesting ones was kind of what Giuliana was doing. But I'm really fascinated and amazed by the amount of projects you managed to get through, for sure. Congratulations on that. One small thing that we did to try and connect our community and connect our artists was just simple online talks through Zoom. We called the lockdown lunches, and we had guest speakers across our creative community in Wellington who are our friends and who have contributed immensely to the fabric of Wellington's creativity. So yeah, we're normal everyday people and artists just came together to talk through Zoom, and you know, we had subject lines about and guest speakers about what they were up to, etc. But it was very casual and formal, and they were good ways to connect. So yeah, technology was a big win of the day, and yeah, without it, I don't think we could have connected as much. But yeah, we look forward to getting back into the thick of it by, you know, being able to physically connect with people, because I think that was a huge learning as well. As much as technology gave us the ability to connect on a technocratic stage, it also taught us that the important things of actually being face-to-face in a Māori context. We call that kānohi ki te kānohi, face-to-face, and that whakawhanaungatanga, pulling together as a whānau and getting to know each other face-to-face in a real way.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely, as Paora was saying, for Here and Out, because it's a project that has an important international component. Half of our lineup it's from overseas. We planned this whole project half physical, half online, digital, and we didn't know when we planned all of this that the biggest COVID outbreak will be when the project will open. But it works in our side, definitely, that we already had all this planned to the online platform. Even the talks that we are doing today were supposed to be open to the public, but it's not really safe to do that in a small room. So that's why we are adapting and reshaping as well. And because we had all these plans made with the online component, we were being able to manage to do what we were planned. And yeah, everyone can see from their places, so they don't have to necessarily expose. And at the same time, as Paora said, we have an important street public space component, because of course it's a street art project, and all of the female artists are street artists. So we managed to have public art experiences in open spaces. So we are following all the regulations and the guidelines that we need to follow in order to keep everybody safe, but at the same time giving them, I don't know, like a moment of happiness in the streets while like these difficult times are happening here. So yeah, it's been really nice to share all of this learning with Toi Poneke and with the council team and everybody involved in making Here and Now possible. Thank you, Paora, for sharing all of that with us. And now, David, can you tell us about the STRAAT? How did you deal, how did the STRAAT?
Yeah. Well, sorry to hear that there's such an outbreak in New Zealand right now. It's I'm not sure how it is for Giuliana, but crazy enough, there are lots of new cases in the Netherlands, but nobody's paying attention anymore. Everything just transferred to focusing on the war in Ukraine, and we move on with life. And the crazy thing is, we've been working on preparing the museum for 5 to 6 years, and once we opened the museum, we were already in the COVID outbreak. So the museum hasn't known any stage without COVID. And that's, you learn to adapt to it. We're all creatives, so you try to find creative ways of connecting. I mean, the space is big enough, so that's not a problem for our visitors, but you cherish that every visitor that comes to the museum, you cherish it even more. So we really welcome them as our guests, and I think they really feel it, that we love to see them come to the museum. And yeah, it's crazy. Well, I did the same as Paora. I did a lot of talks with the artist, because in this art form, all the artists are alive. There's, except for one that passed away, but like all the artists are alive, and they are central in the museum. They are the most important thing to have this museum created. And unfortunately, after 5 to 6 years of building this museum, we weren't able to welcome them at the opening. So I just did the Instagram talks with a lot of them, to just show their faces, show like them in front of their works in the museum, and have some interaction with a couple of them while we were in lockdown, because for sure it's not easy. We're a private museum, so we're not even state funded. We've been open for 3 weeks, and then we had like the first semi-lockdown for 2 weeks, and afterwards 2 weeks open and 7 months closed. It was a huge disappointment. It was very terrible for the whole team that worked so hard to open the museum, to then shut down for 7 months. But we had a couple of options. We could like just cry with all of us, or just stay motivated and come up with like new solutions of connecting with the people. And one was the talks with the artist. We worked together with a lot of different creatives. So we worked together for live streams with DJs inside the museum, and just made the best out of the situation. The people couldn't come to the museum, so we brought them the museum live in their rooms together with music, and we just partied together. And it makes you realize, like, after the lockdowns, it's so important for us to welcome our guests back in the museum. That we hope it's over now, and we can just focus on a bright future. But it taught us even more like how grateful we can be to have this museum and to be able to open the doors for our visitors.
That's awesome. I really want to go to that museum. Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Yeah.
Pleasure.
Well, definitely interesting times to be having this conversation. So yeah, you are managing amazing spaces, and I feel it's really important to these talks to happen so everybody can know how everyone else is dealing with the situation, and that's always good. You know, it's always good to have feedback, I think. Thanks everyone that is joining us from Facebook in Toi Poneke Facebook page. We are in our first panel discussion, Contemporary Art Institutions Around the Globe, with Giuliana from MAC Museum in Peru, Paora Allen from Toi Poneke here in Wellington, and David from STRAAT Museum in Amsterdam. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing all of these amazing experiences and the spaces you work in. Before I open the questions to the public, because I actually don't know what time is it, because I don't have my cell phone is doing the live on Instagram. We have 10 more minutes? Okay, cool. So our 5 last minutes will be to open questions to the public in Facebook. But before that, I would like to, keep talking a little bit more with you, like, you know, asking a little bit more about what's upcoming in this kind of like post-COVID times for MAC and STRAAT. And if there is any interesting exhibitions coming up here in Toi Poneke, and if you can share that with us, that would be really cool. Before we get into our Q&A part. Giuliana, I don't know if you would like to start with that?
Yeah, maybe I can tell you a little bit more about our upcoming projects. So we were close. I was listening to David, and I was thinking that here at MAC we were close 12 months, a whole year. And then we are, I think, that getting to the point where we have similar audiences coming to the museum as in 2019, maybe. So we have focused on Peruvian contemporary artistic practice, and we will develop this the second part of 2022, a big project about Peruvian Amazonian art, a research that we conducted with Christian Bendayan. The name of the exhibition will be The Land of Our Grandparents. So I think that we are preparing that exhibition, and we will also help the second edition of the National Award for Art and Technology. We have the first one in 2019, and then there is also an opportunity to give the opportunity to the artists to create and to develop this site-specific project for one of the exhibition spaces here at MAC. So that's it. Some amazing things coming.
Exciting.
We hope.
So there's a lot coming actually, because like the last 2 years we've basically just worked with lots of Dutch artists, and now the borders are open again, so new projects are coming. There's a massive installation coming from Duke from Spain. It actually was in a museum in Valencia before, and it's now coming to the museum. We have this quarter in the museum that's called Conscious. It's all focused on making people aware of political, economical issues that are that we're facing every day on this earth. So it's actually a big bird that is stuck in a net, and it's eating garbage from the ground. It's going to be amazing and very impactful. We just opened today a digital AR graffiti wall, which is very interactive with our visitors. And that's what's really important for us, that we have like lots of artworks that are very interactive with our visitors. And well, the artists just keep on coming. It's sometimes difficult for me to be the curator of the museum, because right now I have to put different canvases and paintings in storage and change them for the new ones. But it's also exciting because wherever I go right now, I meet artists that really want to come to the museum, and that's a huge compliment to what we're doing. And yeah, I'm just going to enjoy the ride. And these are just a couple. There's going to be a lot of things happening in the next couple of months and this year.
Thank you. I reckon that's going to be really exciting. Paora, what's upcoming next here in Wellington? What you can tell us?
Yeah, kia ora anō. Those are some very fantastic projects you've got going on there, David and Giuliana. It's a real privilege to be in the same conversation today with you. So thank you very much, Mirella, for bringing us all together today. Yeah, so for Toi Poneke, something that we've developed over the last half a dozen years is our local residency programs. So we have 4 residencies. We've got a sonic sound art residency, dance residency, which has an adjunct production design residency attached to it, a visual arts residency, and a screenwriters residency. So we have 4 residencies that we offer to Wellington-based artists, and we've just finished the 2021 visual arts residency. So we're just gearing up to get our call for proposals out for our visual arts residency and our sound art residency alongside our art room. So yeah, we've got 3 residencies that are close to being called out for proposals, and it's an open call for proposals. The successful candidate of each residency has 3 months use of Toi Poneke, their own studio or office, depending on how they work, to create a new body of work or work towards a new body of work. And we give them, a modest stipend along with other mentoring type support that we can attach to the residency. So yeah, that's a really exciting aspect of our work to date, and it's part of our core ethos of supporting artists, particularly in that emerging space. But yeah, we also support artists right throughout their career when and if they need it. So yeah, those are our residency programs. More about those on our website, toiponeke.nz. And I guess a major piece of work that we have started and we are right in the middle of is research towards a new Toi Poneke. So we've been in our current buildings for the last 15 years, and we're at the point where we have the opportunity to create a brand new space, a brand new way of working, and we're going to bring all of our experiences that we've gained over the last 15 years as an art centre into a new space. We know what works, we know what doesn't work, and we're connecting with our communities to see what they want in an art centre and how they want an art centre to be managed and run. So yeah, we're really taking a grassroots, ground level approach to research and getting as much feedback and seeing what we can create for the next version of Toi Poneke. So that's a really exciting body of work and research that we're working on at the moment. And at the moment, sky's the limit. So we look forward to letting everyone in the world know how that comes to fruition.
Amazing. Yeah, I think Wellington is a really vibrant and there's a big art scene happening there. It's because there are a lot of spaces that support the creatives, and definitely Toi Poneke is a very important one. So congratulations for all the work you've been doing all these years, Paora. And congratulations to all of you, because it's amazing and I'm honored to be talking to you this morning. For all of those that are joining us in Facebook, this is our first panel discussion, Contemporary Art Institutions Around the Globe. We're about to finish, but before that, we have 5 minutes to Q&A, so open questions from the people that is following this conversation on Facebook Live, on Toi Poneke Facebook. So today with us also is Sarah Lee behind the scenes. She will help us reading out if we have any questions from the Facebook Live. Thank you, Sarah.
Cool. So we just have a question from Joff about the role of emerging technologies like AR. Apparently there was an AR exhibition a couple of years back at Toi Poneke. Just a question about for you guys what you envision the role of emerging technology to be in contemporary art institutions. If anyone wants to jump on that.
Yeah, coincidentally, we just opened the AR graffiti wall today. And for sure it's the future. I mean, the art scene is developing and evolving, and we just try to evolve and develop with the art scene, you know, so to come up with new ideas, to interact with our visitors, and digital work is definitely one of them.
I agree with you, David. I don't know if I can jump to answer, or I also agree with you, David, on what you said, and I just wanted to add yet that for our context, the Peruvian context is also important for us, and I mentioned the National Award for Art and Technology that we will develop, but it's also important to have the opportunity to analyze new technology, emerging technology, but also thinking about the ancient technology that we had here in Peru. So we encourage artists to do those types of research, the one that establish parallels between the technology from the past and the technology from now and the future.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, nice. I guess in our the small part of the world, the infrastructure to give technology the platform still needs a lot of work. And in little places like Toi Poneke, whereas on the other side of town, we've got Wetter Digital, you know, creating the world's best visuals for the world. So yeah, for us it's really sort of about being able to make sure the technology behind the scenes is there, so that our digital artists can then come in and use those technologies. So yeah, that's kind of sort of where a bit of our research is going into for our new art centre, is making sure all that technology is in there. We've got a very strong pool of New Zealand artists who are working in digital technologies. They have been doing so, you know, since anything digital gets given to our kids, you know, from the old calculator games all through that, where gaming has come from, through to, you know, our more conceptual based artists who are using video to present their works and use video platforms as conduits to ideas. and forms of communication. So yeah, for us, it's just being able to facilitate digital artists so we can then help support what their projects are.
Thank you. Do we have another question there, probably?
I have another question for you guys. What do you hope that the contemporary art worlds you inhabit will look like a generation from now? What do you hope to see unfold within them within your lifetimes, or maybe in a few generations' time?
Anybody?
You go for it.
I was going to say, what an amazing question to make.
Who made that question? Oh,
we could make a whole conference about that just to try to answer that question. It's a great question. I'm just going to, I'm just going to say something really, really short. I hope that, I don't know, to think about, when I think about institutions here in Lima and also in Peru, and I hope that in the future, my daughter and maybe the daughters of my daughters, will have the opportunity to experience contemporary art in different ways than maybe the opportunities that we didn't have and we are trying to make now. So I hope for that.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. It's a really good question, and I think the thing that I can add to it is there's still like a burden around like graffiti and street art, and if it fits like the museum world nationally and internationally, and well, right now we're already experiencing from young kids to elderly really enjoying this beautiful art form that we all share. And my dream is just that it will become even bigger and bigger and more accepted and cherished and used to its max in this generation and the next generations to come.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, big question. And like Giuliana and David have touched on, you know, I think if I think where we're at the moment is we have a lot of barriers for tamariki, for children to even get to the point of picking up a pencil and putting it down on something down on paper, or having the latest iPad technology or computers, etc., to be able to create. So yeah, for me, if I could see into the future, or from here at least help, you know, pull down the barriers for children to be able to create. And yeah, as a parent myself, you know, I can see within my daughter that you know, if there's no barriers and if there are options to be able to create with all the colors, then, you know, her imagination is her imagination. Is not for me or anyone else to say, oh, this is how you do this or this is how you do that. It's just as simple as pulling down all the barriers, not creating new barriers in order for creativity to thrive.
Thank you, Paora. Do we have another question, or are we good on time? Or
It's 12:15. We could do one more question or wrap up. What would you like?
Oh, I think we can have more questions if there are
One
more.
more question?
Yeah.
One more question is there a piece, a work of art that has stuck with you, that lives rent-free in your head, that you think about, that's transported you somewhere or made you feel a certain way that you can't get out of your head?
That's another good question. Yeah, that's a good one. I don't really know. I don't really have one answer to that. Giuliana, Paora?
I can think about one but I don't know how to say the name of the animal that is depicted in the artwork in English, I think. It's a painting by Yando Rios, an artist from Pucallpa, a city in the Peruvian Amazonia. And the painting, it is a drawing. The drawing is a drawing of a tapir. Is that how you say it, Mire?
I don't know.
Chavaca?
English.
Yeah.
I don't know if in English it's tapir. I don't know if you understand if I say tapir, but it's also an Amazonian animal. But the drawing of the tapir has inside another animals like monkeys and dolphins, and also cities and also galaxies. And what the artist is trying to depict, to show, is how the world is experienced inside the Amazonia. Like everything connected, like everybody in dialogue, like all these different animals and the sun and the moon and the cities and the humans and non-humans all together. So it's one of my favorite artworks. I can recall that.
Right. Beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I think if I just had a moment to think about it, I met JR in Miami last December. And I watched his movie Paper and Glue. If you can watch it, it's highly recommendable. And the work that he makes is just, it gives me goosebumps. The pictures that he uses to connect people within the prison or with two sides of the border of Mexico and the United States. Or right now he just did a work in Ukraine. So it's more like not one artwork, but the artist. But he's really inspiring.
Yeah, is that the artwork you mentioned? Is there was this dinner table in between?
Yeah.
That was wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie yet, but I will watch it right now. Yeah.
You need to watch it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Thank you, David. Paora, do you have any artwork in your mind that stayed with you after any exhibition or?
Oh yeah, look, too many to name. Come from an art historian family background. I guess if there's any form of artwork that always grounds me and gets me back into why I'm all doing this is any number of our traditionally carved wharenui, which was developed from a long line of artists throughout the last few centuries in our Māoridom. And one of the finest, if not arguably the finest, wharenui, which is a Māori traditionally carved house, is a house that we're lucky enough to be able to frequent on a daily basis at our National Museum Te Papatongarewa. And the wharenui sits within Te Papa called Te Hauki Tūranga. And it comes from a place that I grew up close to in Te Tairāwhiti. So I've got some strong connections to this wharenui. What the wharenui really embolises and embodies essentially is a core ancestor of the area, and then within it many other key important ancestors, as well as how it's designed and laid out to talk to our spirituality and our narratives and stories of any particular area. So it's the sort of the ideas within the wharenui, from how it's architecturally embodied, moved through, and how key elements connect all together with each other to trigger and be able to call back stories and narratives, and how things Māori are presented and are lived. So just conceptually right through the energy that emanates from wharenui is essentially, an artwork and an art form that is always forefront in the way I do things, for sure.
It's really interesting what you just shared with us, the three of you, because you three spoke about connection in different levels, from Amazonian cultures, from Maori culture, from contemporary artists like JR, and now we are all connected at the same time, like talking in the same space in the digital realm through the internet and digital and technology development. So it's really interesting how this conversation can address us to different contexts, different cultures, but at the same time we are sharing that in the same space. Thank you, all of you, for being with us this morning. Thank you for all the team behind this. Thank you, all of you, for making this live stream possible. Thank you, Sarah, for being with us. I don't know if you want to add anything else before we wrap it up, this conversation. If any of you have any comments, any questions, whatever you feel like.
Once again, thank you for hosting this, and it was an honor to join you and Paora and Giuliana. I would love to come and visit New Zealand once. I've visited Lima already, and I would like to come back. Soy poco peruano. Chévere.
Gracias, muchas gracias, David.
De nada.
Well, if anybody else have anything to share, does anybody have anything else to share, or should we just?
It's bedtime in Holland.
Yeah, true. Sorry, it's 1 a.m. already, right?
Yeah, almost 1:30. It's fine. It was great to be here.
Thank you so much, all of you, for being this morning with us. This morning.
Gracias, Mire. It's been amazing. Ha sido una linda conversación. It's a very, a nice conversation to have this opportunity to share ideas and thoughts, and then to realize how we are all in a way connected, and we are thinking about and dealing also with the same. So thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, Paora. Thank you, Mire, and also the team behind this that you mentioned, and all the people that watch and ask those amazing questions on Facebook. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Julie. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos. We've been planning this for a while now, so it feels really good to have done it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, totally.
And for those that joined us as Facebook Live, sorry, that's Instagram Live and live stream on Facebook from Toi Poneke website and Toi Poneke Facebook. This was our first panel discussion, Contemporary Art Institutions Around the Globe. This is Here and Out. I am Mirella Moschella, the curator of Here and Out. Thank you, Giuliana, Paora, and David, for being with us this morning. It's been really, really good conversation. Thank you so much for this space.
Thank you, Mire.
Hopefully you
Gracias.
can. Gracias a ustedes. Hopefully you can still talking and creating. That's the most beautiful part of all of this. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you.
Gracias.
Kia ora, everyone.
Kia ora.
Bye. Bye. Bye.